tired sometimes.
Let me rub some all on that crust round your mouth. Oh, let me wash your hands with warm rose water and gently dig out that sore under your nails.
Tired sometimes.
Hey, this is Janetta, and you're watching Africa Speak. Hey, this is Janetta, and I bet you can't guess where I am. Woo-hoo! I am right here again with Brother Pete O'Neal, and I'm telling you, we're going to do part 2. He has said that he will do part 2 with us, so we're going to get right into it. But hey, I thank you for all your compliments and comments, and that you subscribed and you liked it, and that just inspires us, Brother Pete.
Yes.
They gave us a lot of compliments, and I got a lot of subscriptions. A lot of people are interested in what you have to say. So we're going to get started. We're going to get started again. He has welcomed us into his home, and he's taken our time to be able to share his successes and also his success are some things we have failed in doing. And one thing I think you're probably like I am, Brother Pete, we like to tell people the truth about it, right?
We tell the truth,
We
whether
tell
you
the
like
truth.
it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether it's good or bad. You know, people have a tendency. They like for stories to be in nice packages,
Yeah.
with nice, colorful wrapping paper, pretty ribbons and tied in a bow. But life does not unfold in that manner.
It doesn't.
It does not. At times it looks pretty good, and times it looks downright awful. And you try to persevere and you try to succeed in spite of appearances. And so that's where we're at now. If you want to know our story, you have to be prepared for some things that'll make you feel uneasy, some things that'll make you glad, and some things that will touch you to the depths of your soul to the extent that they can bring tears to your eyes. So that's where we are.
And we got to tell the truth, because when you're left up to your imagination, you dream about things that are not reality.
Not reality.
They're not truth.
And there is the world as we think it should be, and the world as it is. I prefer to live in the realistic version.
And tell it as it is. Whether it compliments you or not.
There we go.
Yeah. So people, they like to hear, but the outcome is good. The outcome is good. Whether it's things happen bad, usually the outcome is good unless you're not here, unless you die.
There we go.
But where we stopped off, there were so many things we stopped off with that was so very interesting.
I think we stopped where we had decided to leave the United States.
Okay. Yes.
And I don't know if we told you about getting to New York. And
no, we were talking about it, and I did read something about how Algeria was Hawaii, and how they were instrumental in helping out. And you mentioned that a little bit, but can you tell us more about that in detail? That when you got into, you didn't.
When I got to finish the sentence.
When you got into trouble. Remember when you told you were charged?
Yes.
Did you say we didn't talk about what you were charged with? Why you decided to leave?
Yes. Well, Clarence Kelly was the chief of police of Kansas City. Now, he was a rising star. I'm not sure what party. It doesn't matter. It's all same soup on over.
Yeah.
But whatever party, he was a rising political star. As a matter of fact, when J. Edgar Hoover died, my arch enemy, my nemesis, Clarence Kelly, took over as the director of the FBI.
Oh, wow.
So my arch enemy became all powerful. But when he was the chief of police, an ex-policeman came to me and said, I've got some interesting information for you. I've got documented proof that the Kansas City Police Department, when they confiscate guns, they turn them over to right-wing organizations. Did we get into that?
No, no.
Okay. He said when they confiscate weapons, they turn them over to the John Birch Society and the Minutemen, and on some occasions, the KKK.
Oh, wow.
They had sworn statements from police. Many had. He said, now listen. He said, I'm turning this over to you because you're at odds with the police and you're always trying to speak truth to power. And I would suggest that we hold this and don't do anything with it until the right moment. Well, me being as headstrong as I was and determined to heighten contradictions and bring the police department and the illegalities that they committed to the public view. I put it in the newspapers and it was everywhere. We had a press conference and they said, oh my goodness. And then they put out that that's nonsense. This has no basis in truth. And so the committee for the House of Un-American Activities, I think it's called,
Yeah,
decided to do a review on the Kansas City chapter of the Black Panther Party, and I believe Baltimore, but I'm not sure about that. Don't hold me to that. And so they called Clarence Kelly to refute the accusations that we had made. And so they were having this big, in Washington, D.C., this big hearing. Myself and a couple of my compatriots got on a plane, flew to Washington, D.C., burst into the hearing and demanded, and I've got footage of this in a documentary, demanded that they look at the evidence that we had, and the man is slamming the gavel. Sir, you cannot interrupt. This is a hearing, and you cannot do this. And we came from Kansas, and I thought I was the slickest thing around. I thought I was the smartest, slickest thing since greased lightning. Up to me at that moment comes a dude in a suit and a tie. He said, do you really have? I said, yes, I've got it. He said, this is important. He said, come on, we're going to get a stenographer and we're going to take all of this down. Took us to a room and said, wait here, I'll be right back. He locked the door. And we were locked in the room. We captured for 2 hours. After 2 hours, somebody came and opened the door and said, you can go now till the hearing's over. And so they outslicked us.
They can do it.
And they are slick and cunning.
They can do it.
And back to Kansas City we went. 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Now, remember this, I had charged him with gun violations, right?
Yes.
3 weeks to the day. Here comes the ATF, the FBI, the Kansas City Police Department, and the SWAT team. I've got pictures of this, and they arrest me. And they're trying to make it a big deal like they're capturing John Dillinger or somebody. And they said, you under arrest? I said, bet. And put my hands on the car. They searched me and took me in and charged me with, now, get this. This is the atrocious, heinous crime that has caused me to be in exile for 54 years. They charged me. They had looked in their records and found that a year before I had bought from a pawn shop in Kansas City, Kansas, a $19 single-shot used shotgun. And they didn't get that shotgun from me. They got it from another Panther in Kansas City, Missouri.
Uh-huh.
Ergo, they figured he carried it across state lines.
Uh-huh.
How did they prove that? My landlady, who unbeknownst to me was an FBI informant, a white woman.
Oh, Lord.
I can't remember her name. Charlotte remember her name right off. She testified, yes, he came to me and told me and my husband that he bought this in Kansas and bought it over to Missouri. Gave it to this Panther. That's how the police got it. But they never got the gun off of me.
Uh-huh.
Do you understand?
Yeah,
So
I
it was her
understand.
word against mine.
Uh-huh.
And so,
It was her white word against
oh,
you.
it was her white word against mine.
Uh-huh.
And so then there began the trial. And the police had wanted me so bad. I had violated, I had insulted the very essence of their culture and of their being. I had attacked churches in white churches that refused to support the black community and yet had the beautiful buildings in the black community. And I told them, if you're here, you've got to support them. They refused to do that. And it was an insult. And fights started out. And so they were determined to get me. So they said, now we got you. As I'm going to court every day, they had protesting. And that's the first time I'd ever seen where they put metal detectors on you, you know. I told all my comrades, whatever you do, don't say a word to anybody in that jury because they'll use that against us. Don't say anything to anybody. As we go in, the police are with me. They say, when we get you on our turf, you're coming out in a box. They laughing and like, we got him now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The trial went on. I was found guilty. I had 3 charges. It's ridiculous charges. They had to change one. One was transporting a firearm, a convicted felon transporting a firearm across state lines. They had to modify that, said transporting or caused to be transported. Okay. Then the other one was using a false name. There was no false name. Your name is what you're known as. And I had to get a job. Because I had been in trouble as a young man. I had to use a different name, and I did. And I used the same Social Security. Okay, so I had a hung jury on that. And then I can't even remember what the third one was, but it was even more ridiculous. And so when I was found guilty, the district attorney jumped up and said, we're going to retry him on the hung jury part, the ones where I was found not guilty, it was a hung jury. And they said, we're going to retry him on that. So they sentenced me to 4 years on that. Now, this was their modus operandi with so many black people that stood against and spoke out against the system. They did it with George Jackson. They did it with Eldridge Cleaver, and the list goes on until today. They would get you in jail for a year, 2 years on anything. And while you're there, they will pump it up, and you'll end up with life.
Yeah.
Never, ever getting out of that.
That's Rap Brown.
That's Rap Brown today. You see what
Today.
Now, see, so they have...
And they don't even want to retry. They know they're wrong.
No, they know they're wrong, but they don't want to do it. And it amazes me. Everybody knows, well, thinking people know how they do, and this is the method they use. But they don't want to change it. I guess if it worked then, it'll work now, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess we're crazy enough to go for it. So anyway, I told Charlotte, I said, we're going to have to get out of here. Now, that song by this white boy that I liked to sing it. He was a singer and an actor, and he sang the song The Gambler.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? That was Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, and he had the song, he said, in The Gambler, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. Well, my mama might have had me at night, but she didn't have me last night. I said, Charlotte, I told my little 18-year-old, I said, it's time to get out of Dodge. She said, I'm ready, brother. Let's go. So the police were watching us constantly, had constant surveillance under us. They changed shifts and they had cars out there with the police in it. Charlotte and I devised a method where we could go down to the basement of our apartment building, and there was a passageway to the next apartment building.
Wow.
And you can get over to that. And then you can get down in that basement and go to, there were three that were owned by the same person. They were connected by these hallways or corridors. We decided we had to have somebody come up from Arkansas because they knew all of our cars. And they watched all of our cars. So, you know, Clarence Kelly was smart. He wasn't like Parker in L.A., Chief Parker, who was just stupid. You know, you push button A, you get a response. So you could use him and manipulate him in that way. Clarence Kelly was smart. He had his people watching us, but he told them to keep their hands off. Don't let them provoke you until we get something significant on them. So Charlotte and I had a car come from Arkansas, and the guy called us at midnight. Charlotte had on a wig and a little bougie dress and everything. I had my hair myself for disguise, and I had on a beautiful, I used to like clothes. I had on a beautiful cashmere coat. And we'd waited for the call, and the call didn't come. And the call didn't come. I said, Charlotte, they're not coming. I said, I was supposed to go to court the next day. I said, the hell with it. I'm going to court. I said, I'm going to bed now. I started taking off the clothes. Phone rang. And here he was. I said, oh, my goodness. I said, time to go, sister. She said, let's do it. I said, Charlotte cut her knee. We went through the apartment buildings, and we ended up almost a block away from my apartment when we came out. And he was in the alley. I can't remember his name. Charlotte Will. We came out. Charlotte's trying to get in the trunk of the car and hit her knee and cut it. He put us in the trunk of the car, closed it, and we crumped up in there. Charlotte's claustrophobic. He drove a few blocks away to get away from that area, let us out. We got in the front seat of the car, and we're driving to St. Louis because I couldn't go to the airport in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So he's driving 250 miles, and it's daybreak by the time we're pulling into the outskirts of St. Louis. And Charlotte and I were so paranoid that we looked at, it was early morning, and all of these commuters were going on, I suppose, on their way to work and things. And it looked like every one of them was staring intently at us, just looked that way. And we said, oh my God, they know who we are. And so we're running late, and we're getting there. I said, we got to run. We got to run to catch this plane. We'd made reservations. And her, well, I won't say her pseudonym, she had a passport in another name. And as did I. Provided by the white left out of New York.
Oh, wow.
It was the white left that did all of this to get us out of there. And I'm calling her, I said, come on, so-and-so. I mean, Charlotte, come on. I'm forgetting which name to call. And we're running, we get on the plane, and we get there. Now, these dudes were doctors and lawyers.
Yeah, they helped you out.
Yeah, in the Communist Party.
Yeah.
And Young Communists of America. And one dude was a doctor. And he lived on Long Island. You know on Long Island where you got those big houses?
Yeah, rich.
That's not where I was supposed to go. He had given me a safe house address in Manhattan. And I had lost that. But I knew where he lived. So we got in the cab, and we went to Long Island. Now, we went to this house, and big, beautiful house, knocked on the door. I have seen, Sister Jeanette, in my lifetime, I have seen white people turn bright red, but had never seen a white person go completely white.
Yeah, they
He
can.
opened the door and
Scared
saw me
the-
there and scared him. He just went white. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Man, I lost the address." I said, "Yeah." He said, "No, come on." He got us out of there, got us to Manhattan, got us in the safe house. Now they're looking at us as something that we were not. I found a note in the house that they had left for one of their comrades. It said, "You got to be careful with these people. You know, they're coming from places like Dodge City." And that they could be dangerous.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, because we're black.
Yeah, of course they were.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and I can remember this last scene. Bear in mind now, my good sister, I've been in exile for 54 years.
Yes.
I burned into my memory the last scene that I can recall. I'm looking out the window. Across the street, I guess it was a delicatessen. And I can picture this as if it happened 5 minutes ago. I saw a young black boy walk in the store, and the man came and met him, had an apron on, and the boy handed him a note. This is nothing of significance other than to me. This is my last daytime memory. Handed him a note, he went away, and I guess he fulfilled the order, brought the sack back and gave it to the boy. The boy turned around and left. That is the last daytime memory I have of the United States
of America.
And so it becomes night now. Here comes one of the lawyers. He's got his car. He bought the papers that we needed. He bought the money that we needed. And he says, "Come on, I'm going to take you to the airport." And he's nervous. And his hands are shaking. He's driving the wheel down the car. I said, "Damn, this man going to have a heart attack." Shit.
He's more scared than you
He's more
are.
scared than I am. I said, "Damn." And so he's driving. And he turned on the radio, and we're going down the road, dark. And we heard this singer. It was a little boy singing. A little boy with a tinny voice singing, "I'll be there." And that was 12-year-old Michael Jackson singing his song, "I'll Be There." So I told Charlotte, I said, "You know, we've got to remember this. This is going to be our song." So we reached the airport. Man lets us go and gladly depart.
I know that's right.
But before he departed, I took Charlotte aside. I said, "Listen, sister," I said, "nobody's looking for you. Nobody." Charlotte had a scholarship, a medical scholarship, to go to a university in either Oklahoma or Texas. I can't remember which. And I said, "You can go with them. They'll get you back to Kansas City. You can go on with your education and go ahead and live your life." I said, "Because you never know, sister. We may be gone for up to 2 years. I said, 2 years. It was 20 years before Charlotte went back for the first time to the United States. Charlotte said, "No, absolutely not." She said, "I'm down for doubles, brother," which means I'm all in.
I'm all in.
For everything. And we're going to struggle together. I said, "Well, if you sure, let's go." We got on that SAS, and the plane took off and climbed. And when all that was left of the plane on the ground was its shadow, it headed north. And we were on our way to Sweden. And so there we go. We're Sweden with the intention of getting into Algeria. We get to Sweden. First we went to Denmark, got another plane, then went to Sweden. And the airport we went into, it must not have been, I don't know, but it must not have been the main airport. It was a little dismal, deserted looking kind of place. And so we got off the plane and nothing around, just snow everywhere. And Sister Charlotte, we got off and there were some strange birds. This day, I don't know what those birds were. They weren't penguins, but they were big. And they were walking around the airport, big, big birds. And Charlotte looked at that, turned her head, looked to the right, turned her head and looked to the left, and looked at me and started crying. I said, what's the matter? She said, I don't know. But she had never been that far away from home in her life. She's 18 years old, and I guess she said, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah.
But she was down. So there we go. We stayed. We had adventures in Sweden. We finally got Sweden had state-sponsored excursions that anybody could go on, and they would pay most of it. And we got one going to Tunisia, and said, now all we got to do is cross the border. And we got there. The border between Algiers and Tunisia was closed.
Oh my God!
Some conflict. I don't remember what it was.
Some kind of conflict.
But it was closed, and they said it will be closed for the foreseeable future. I said, well, I'll be damned. But because we were on an excursion, we had a return ticket to Sweden. We went back to Sweden. And a young girl that was part of the anti-fascist committees around the world that were international in scope. Little white girl, Charlotte, I can tell you her name. She was so scared she started crying. But she did the impossible. You couldn't get apartments in Sweden, and they had 15-year waiting list. She got us an apartment, and we went to this apartment, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Dr. Zhivago.
A long time ago.
Long time ago. Well, the scenes, the romantic scenes where they were in this ice-covered, isolated place, that's kind of what this put you in mind of. And so Charlotte and I had a beautiful honeymoon there. And so we spent some time there until we could get another excursion. And this time it was taking us to Mallorca, which is an island off of Spain.
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, yeah. My goodness. Well, we have too. So we went there, and the tour leader said, okay, everybody get together. We're going to the hotel. We're in the airport. Charlotte and I said, sure. Pew! And we headed off straight for the Algerian Airlines. Got us tickets and went there. Went to Harbor, Hotel Royale. I remember that. It was the most horrible hotel in the world. Bugs in there and everything. And I said, well, we get out of here in the morning. We just have to deal with this. Next morning, I went and told him, I said, do you know whether, I don't know anything about Algeria, whether he said, Panther Noir, the Black Panthers, yeah, I know how to get in touch with him. So he looked around and called some people and got a phone number. I called. I said, this is Pete O'Neal. I said, I was the deputy chairman of the Kansas City chapter of the Black Panther Party, and blah, 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 and I'm in exile situation. He said, oh, really? So it was Elder. I didn't know who it was. I had talked to him on the phone once before. And he said, oh, really? Huh? He said, yeah, well, you can come out. He said, the address is such and such, but it's very cold.
Who was it?
Eldridge Cleaver.
Oh, okay. That was one of his headquarters. Yeah, he spent a lot of time there. Yeah.
Yes, he did. He did. As a matter of fact, I took over the international section from him. So he says, but he sounded distrustful, you know. Yeah. And I'm sure he would be.
Very cautious, because you had a lot of people that looked like us that was infiltrators.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I can understand that.
You know, that's important what you just said.
Yeah, we had a lot of black people that were infiltrators.
That I learned.
Yes, sir.
A hard lesson.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so I told Charlotte, I said, stay here. I gave her all the money I had. I said, you stay here. I said, if I don't come back, you get out of here. Get back to Sweden and try to get back in the United States. She said, okay, brother, you know. I left, got in the cab. Went there, rang it was a embassy building.
Mm-hmm.
I rang the doorbell, and Eldridge came out. He looked at me. He said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, man." I said, "I'm Peter O'Neal." He looked at me and said, "Where in the hell have you been?"
Uh-huh.
I said, "What do you mean, where have I been?" He said, "We've been waiting on you, man, for a long time."
Uh-huh.
I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." He said, "Man, your mother has written me about 10 letters saying she knows that you're going to try to get your way here.
Uh-huh.
And for me to be on the lookout for you and something like." I said, "Oh my God." So my old meddlesome, know-it-all mama who's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
run everything.
Mama. What's that song,
She
Mama?
was being mama. And so she was looking out for me.
Uh-huh.
So when I got in and all the sisters, there was a group, oh, it was kind of like a homegoing sister.
Uh-huh.
It was so touchy. Remember a moment ago we were talking about the moments that lift you up
Yes, yes.
and just make your heart feel
Make you
light
feel so
and
good.
floating. This was one of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
They were so happy, and the sisters were excited. Kathleen, D.C. Cox's wife, Barbara Cox, and
Uh-huh.
all of the brothers and sisters, they were just so excited. And when they found out that my wife was black, they said, "Oh, hallelujah,"
Uh-huh.
because they thought me coming from Sweden
Yeah, you
that
have
I'd have a white wife.
Uh-huh.
And they were just so excited. I went back to the hotel, got Charlotte, went back there, got her back and took her back, introduced her, and we were at home.
Uh-huh.
The Algerian government gave us a stipend. The Algerian government gave us the embassy near ambassadorial status. They gave us the embassy that had belonged to the North Vietnamese.
Uh-huh.
They gave us that, gave us identity cards, and after having been watching your back every minute, you took a breath.
Uh-huh.
And it was just nice. So it was good there we were. So
That's where Charlotte got pregnant, right?
I think she got pregnant in Sweden.
In Sweden.
Yes.
Okay.
The Anua Nchebe,
Uh-huh.
the is he Ghanaian author, the African author, renowned African author who wrote Things Fall Apart.
Uh-huh.
Well, he was so right. Things do fall apart.
Yeah.
We stayed in Algeria with just ideal situation.
Yeah.
A lot of renowned people came through there, a lot of them.
Uh-huh.
And we interacted with them in a near diplomatic situation.
Right.
And it was just so things were going just wonderful. And then, after we'd been there somewhat over a year,
Mm-hmm.
Eldridge wanted to move in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was beginning, well, Eldridge went through some unfortunate changes
Uh-huh.
with his thinking and his mentality.
Uh-huh.
And I think he was planning then, I don't know this, but I think he was planning how to work his way to get back into the United States.
Yeah, he wanted to come back.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took over as the leader of the international section. Sekou Odinga was there, Larry Mack, and Barbara Cox, Don Cox, and so many people. And most of them have passed away now. And that's something. But we had a series of unfortunate events
Mm-hmm.
that kind of turned our relationship with the Algerian government into a different direction.
Uh-huh.
There was a hippie couple, a
Yeah.
black dude and a white girl,
Uh-huh.
Roger Holder and Kathy Kirkow. They wrote a book. I've got it here somewhere. The book was written about them later,
Mm-hmm.
and it was The Skies Belong to Us. There it is. I see it now. was the name of the book. The Skies Belong to Us.
Uh-huh.
They hijacked a plane, a United Airlines plane.
Oh, Lord.
And we didn't know these people, never heard of them. I don't think they had a political thought in their heads. As a matter of fact, they were both so high on acid, I don't even know if they knew they
what
hijacked
that,
a plane.
yeah.
So he was, boy, it was crazy. I don't want to disparage him because he's passed away, but anyway, he wasn't thinking at the top of his ability. Let me put it like that. He had a briefcase with wires hanging out of it. This is a bomb, and this is what he used to get the money. And his intention at first was not to come to Algeria, but to go somewhere, and I can't remember where that somewhere was. And the pilot said, "We don't have the fuel to go there. We can't." And they gave him some excuse. And so then they said, "Well, we want to go to Algiers." And so to Algeria they came. Who was there? My mother, my father, my son, who's built a house here now, my son from another marriage, Charlotte's mother and father and brother, they were all there visiting, and we had a villa. And so they're in our villa, and we're there early in the morning, bam, 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 here comes the Algerian security. They said, we need your help. I said, well, what is it I don't know what you're talking about. Your people. Your people.
Yeah, I
Folks
hear
can
it.
drop that out there so quick.
Your people.
Your people. Your people have hijacked a plane, and they're bringing it here with $500,000, and the money's yours. But we want to make sure nobody gets killed and no fallouts or anything. So we want you to talk to them. So Eldridge was hanging around the office, although he was not technically still a part of it, he's just hanging out there, you know. We get me and Sekou Odinga, who just passed away a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago. We jumped in the car and we're going to the airport. And now, be very truthful, we were living off the stipends that the government gave us and Eldridge's writing from his books.
Yeah.
And Eldridge could be very tight. So it never was really, really easy doing the things we wanted to do. We wanted people to come out, sending them, buying them tickets and things. So the idea of getting this $500,000 didn't turn us off. So we're riding out there, and we're going to get the brothers off the plane. We're driving, we'll pull up to the airport. Here comes the security again. We don't need you. We don't need you. We've talked to them. We've got everything under control. You can go back now. We said, man, what are you talking about? You said it was our people. So now we want to, no, you just leave. And it got contentious. And it got to the point where he had his hand on his gun and everything. And me and Sekou he rose up, we rose up, you know. Just youthful foolishness looking back. And Eldridge, who was older than all of us, said, hey man, y'all be cool now. Don't make these fools shoot us, I guess. We went back to our house and to the embassy. And within a week, they brought the hijackers over to us. Turned them over to us.
Yeah.
And I should show you that book. Brother, can you hand me that book there? The one you said, Black Man's Face. You said, no, a black man. Now look further. The other, there, yes. Gently. There you go, yes. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The skies belong to us. This has the picture of a black man and a white girl. And it says love and terror in the golden age of hijacking. After I left, when Charlotte and I left, we were the last ones to leave. Time passed, and the situation began to deteriorate even more.
Yeah, with the Algerians.
Yes,
yeah.
because other people hijacked the plane in
Well,
the next couple of weeks with $1 million.
oh, Lord have
Sister,
mercy.
you know, I'm not ashamed. Remember we said we tell the truth?
Yeah.
Anything I've done, I'll tell you.
Uh-huh.
If I didn't do it, I say I didn't do it. If
Yeah,
I did, I
yeah,
tell you
yeah.
without shame.
Right.
You know, it happened, and I moved beyond that.
Yeah.
But we had no idea about any of these people or who they were. But we were notorious, so I guess they said we'll go to the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
So when somebody else hijacked planes with $1 million, they turned them over to us again, apolitical. They had political thought in their heads. They stayed with us, and finally everybody started trying to get back.
Mm-hmm.
People were trying because things had started to change with the Algerian government.
Uh-huh.
Not with us. Well, I don't want to go into that.
Yeah. But things were happening that they weren't
Yes.
they hadn't signed up for.
They had not signed up for it. That's precisely
Yeah.
right. So we said, well, we'd all written letters. I've got the letter here somewhere. Just saw it recently. To the Algerian government, said, listen, we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
We need some travel documents,
Mm-hmm.
and we need money.
Mm-hmm.
This time has come for us to return to the struggle into the United States. Now, I had thought of the idea. Wait, let me tell you about this nasty rumor. Have I told you this before?
No.
Okay, let me tell you about this nasty rumor. There's a rumor going around that women are smarter than men.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know anything about that, but there might be a little truth to it.
Uh-huh.
And I tell you that because my idea was to return to Sweden, go back underground, and get back in the United States because the revolution was going to happen, if not this week, next week.
Uh-huh. You
And
want
I
to be
want
there.
to be a part of it.
Uh-huh.
And Charlotte said, well,
And
Brother Pete, why don't we go to Tanzania? And instead of going back, you can go to Tanzania, build up your getting back in the revolutionary plan and do it right. I said, you know, that sounds like an idea. So we got the tickets to come to Tanzania.
Uh-huh.
And Tanzania, here we come. We came here, we settled in, and we struggled from day one because this was not like Algeria, where the government had supported us. Here we were on our own.
Mm-hmm.
We had to find a way to sustain ourselves. By now we have a baby boy, and Charlotte had Malcolm, and lovely child.
Uh-huh.
And we're here, and we're happy, and we're free. And so we got us a house on the other side of Arusha in Garamtoni.
Garantoni, yeah.
Yes. Did I tell you about our attempts at farming?
No, but Charlotte has been telling me about you all did quite a bit.
We did a great deal of farming.
Yeah.
But at first, initially, there was a man, a Chaga man,
Uh-huh.
named Mr. Mushi. And he was just as nice as pie. And he'd come by and sit and talk with us and tell me about you African Americans, how you, and we'd talk, and he liked it. And we told him about the Black Panther Party. He said, well, he said, now, with this land you're renting,
Uh-huh.
you have 4 acres.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with that? I said, well, I don't know. I said, I guess we'll do something with it. He said, I'll help you. He says, I will bring my tractor up here and I will plow the whole 4 acres for you.
Uh-huh.
And I'll get you some corn seed. And you can do that and you'll have your a harvest of corn that you can sell, you can keep it to use, and it'll help you get along. I said, well, that's awful nice of you. So Mr. Mushi brought his tractor up, and he plowed it nicely and gave me a couple of big bags of seed. And Said, now, you all can deal with the plan. I said, oh, that's not a problem. So he left. I said, okay, Charlotte, let's go. I said, get a shovel. Should have known right then that something wasn't going right according to plan when I said, get a shovel. we went out there, and I started digging holes I'm from Kansas City. Only corn I'd ever seen was in Safeway or Milgram's. And even though that's the land of soybeans and corn, I didn't know the first. I'm from 12th Street. I didn't know the first thing about it. And so I started digging holes about a foot deep. I said, Charlotte, you come by, put about 3 of them in there and make sure, you know. And then I'll cover it up. I'll take my foot and cover dirt and stomp it on it down, make sure it's down there good. Well, some months went by, and Mr. Moshe came back up. He said, how's your corn doing? I said, Mr. Moshe, I hate to tell you that, but the seed you gave us, something was wrong with it. He said, what are you talking about? I said, not one of them came up, not one. I said, no telling how many we planted. He said, come show me what, I can't believe that. I never had, come show me what you did. And I said, you want me to dig it up? He said, dig it up.
You didn't. You put all the seed in one hole.
No, I didn't put them. I put them a foot deep. A foot deep. They're supposed to be about an inch and a half.
Yeah, not so far.
No, nowhere in the world they could come up.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and said, you know, I'm taking license with what he said, but it was the equivalent of, good God Almighty, I've never seen nothing like this in my life. He said, no, son, that's not the way you do it. He said, you should have put it down an inch and a half to it, something like that. I said, I didn't know. He said, but that's okay. He said, I'll bring my tractor up and I'll plow it again, and it's too late for corn, but we can plant beans. Somewhere in the thousands of photos that I have, somewhere I have a picture of me standing proudly next to a mountainous heap of harvested beans. And that was the first crop we ever did. It was the first of many to come. But we did so successfully, and we did so with the assistance of Mr. Moshe. So there we were. So anyway.
Now that you're in
Tanzania.
Now that you're in Tanzania, how is it that you happen to get to stay here in Tanzania? You know, now with all this detection and everything, you can't move around like we used to move around.
That's right.
But how did you happen to get to stay here? How did they?
Well, I'm going to tell you. There was a strange thing about Tanzania in the early 70s. There was a big, much bigger African-American community than there is today. I would estimate there was maybe 700-800 people here.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not talking about people affiliated with churches or just people that expatriated themselves to Tanzania.
I wonder what was the reason they
I'm
can't
getting
come.
ready to tell you, it's coming.
Oh, okay.
If you can just hold on a second.
I'll try.
Here it comes. Get ready for it. Out of that huge population, the great majority of them, now this is what's going to blow your mind, not all of them, but the majority of them were from around the Kansas City area. And you say, Kansas City?
Yeah, that's where I'm getting.
How in the world can that be? Well, I'm going to tell you. The then ambassador to the United States from Tanzania went to the University of
Kansas.
And he made a soul-stirring speech about African Americans coming to Tanzania to participate in nation building.
Yeah.
Well, that was a blessing and a curse because he opened Pandora's box. The point of the matter was they came here And most of them, if they didn't know me personally, certainly knew of
Of
me
you. Uh-huh.
because I was so notorious in Kansas City.
Uh-huh.
So coming here was like coming to a homecoming.
Uh-huh.
Here we come. And the African American community welcomed us. One brother had a beautiful brand new apartment in Keiko Flats in Dar es Salaam.
Uh-huh.
They're so run down now, it's pathetic, but they were beautiful. This is where the high-ranking army officers were.
Uh-huh.
This is where the Chinese who were building the Tazara Railroad, where they stayed. And he gave us, he said, man, he said, y'all got a child. He says, I can just stay with friends. He said, take it. And we took it. And we lived there for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Things were money was so different then. I could, now here oh, some of the people who had worked with the government took us. Some people had jobs here working from the United States as expatriates working in the government.
Uh-huh.
They took us to see Nyeri. Nyeri greeted us and said, "You're welcome to stay here." He said, "But believe me," he said, we don't play those kind of games that he heard of some of the notorious stuff.
And he'd been to the United States too.
Many times.
Yeah.
Many times. And the guy that did a documentary about me, he had stayed when he was fighting for liberation for his company, he had stayed at his wife's mother's house, who was high up in the American labor movement, you know. So we had contact. So we were told we could stay, don't cause problems. And we are a developing nation, and we're an agriculture country, and we are dependent upon creating enough food for our people to eat sufficiently. You got to be a part of that. And so that we left him with that mandate that we've got to be a part of Tanzania's development. And so we tried to do so.
So this is not the first time they had to call out to United States for us to come not only to Tanzania but into Africa.
Okay.
The clarion call that's gone out now.
Okay.
For Americans to come over and
does this have something to do with Ghana?
With what?
Ghana?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, part of Ghana, part of the others. Some of the other countries.
Is this a year of return?
The year of return and all that for us to come over.
Yeah.
And they're having about the same kind of action. Some of us coming over is wonderful. Some of us coming over is awful.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
This is what I was telling you.
Yeah.
I said, people like the stories in nice, pretty boxes with a pretty bold ribbon at the top. But that's not the way it works. Oh, God. That's not the way it works. You know, life is not all pretty.
No.
You know, and so when some of us came, a lot of us came with some negative baggage.
Now, what I want to ask you is this, Brother Pete, because you're going to make us have to do this again because you just got so much and people are interested in it. Okay. But let's leave it right there. You're now in Tanzania, but let's kind of turn back to the Black Panthers and their purpose and things and the sacrifices that have been made. And when you look back at it, or what do you think about the sacrifices? Now, you mentioned about Eldridge Cleaver, and there's not a lot of things that we know about Eldridge Cleaver because his name, whenever it came up in any kind of press in the United States, was always that he was a danger, he was this and whatever. Now, did he went back to the United States?
He did.
He did. He went back to the United States.
And he did a complete flip-flop. He went back to the United States. He became a born-again Christian. He became a supporter of right-wing efforts. He joined one of Nixon's cronies,
oh my God,
Colson, and went on speaking tours. And I think Eldridge Cleaver is one of the smartest men I've ever seen.
I've listened to some of his.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He thinks on his feet as sharp as a razor blade. But I don't know. I saw several documentaries. I knew him well. And he and I got along because we came from similar background. We both came from the streets. We both had been in California prisons, and we had that in common, and so we could get along. And we know when something was BS and when it wouldn't. Me and him had some falling out, and some of the other brothers said, "Man, y'all ought to stop that arguing about whatever we were arguing about. Wasn't much of nothing." And,
now, do you? Now, what about? Oh, now names are mentioned to me.
Sekou Odinga?
So, I had all these names memorized before I came over here. The other guy that was the leader, that I'm having to forget his name. The one that Huey Newton.
Huey Newton?
And
I didn't know Huey Newton.
And there's another guy with Huey Newton.
Bobby Seale.
Bobby Seale. Did you ever get acquainted with them?
Yes, I did. I joined the Black Panther Party when Huey was in jail. And Bobby Seale and David Hilliard were running the party.
All those guys were super intellects.
Yes, they were very,
and Rap Brown is outstanding. I mean, all of them.
He is.
You know, they were not. Now, there's things going on right now, and I want you to try to help us with, because these young people now are starting things, and you know how things happen. A lot of times when you're trying to make a change, and sometimes when you're trying to make a change, the biggest thing gets into your way is your self-ego. And so, but the purpose, the reason that they had, but the thing that makes it bad is that the thing that they were going for was to make changes in the government and how we were treated, and also to put emphasis on what the things that were needed in our communities, which was also needed in white communities as well. But the big thing that used to bother me when I was young is the fact that how come we didn't go after those companies that refused to hire us? You know, that just refused to. We kept on buying from them and supporting them, and they refused to. Our economy, our economically, our economics was more based on the businesses around, the big businesses, the corporations, the Swiss packing houses, and the Coca-Cola companies, and the different big companies that we had all throughout the United States. That we didn't, whether it was gas, not too many of us really benefited from working at the oil fields and things. Now they have some black people there because they make really a lot of money. We didn't go after those. We try to do more of the social program.
But that was our plan. That was our plan, to bring about, to change the socio-economic system of the United States, where the people had a greater say. Now, we called ourselves socialists, but we weren't talking about conventional socialism. We were talking about some form, because I don't think conventional socialism will work in the United States. Hear me out now. In the United States, until drastic, major changes are made in the thinking of the people. So some form of socialism where people have greater control, a greater say in the running of these corporations and these masses that hire so many people, and delegate blacks and poor and oppressed people in general to lesser situations, lesser jobs where they have. So this was the thing that we were struggling to bring about. But now here's another thing. In order for people to fit into these situations and to function well in them, we've got to do some uplifting with ourselves. We've got to change the educational system to where we can educate ourselves. You know, the systems that they have in America, had and have in America, was designed for you to go from school to the penitentiary.
Right.
That was the plan. That was the thing. We needed a greater plan. And to bring about a lot of these things we need today, what I felt or what we felt we needed then, to try to level the playing field, we needed, and this is key, sister, and we still need reparations. We
need reparations, but you know the not a but for the reparations, because these people need to pay us reparation for all along. I mean but the biggest reparation they could do for us is to leave their hands off our stuff.
Yes.
Leave their hands off their stuff. Now to bring it down to what you've heard about what's going on in Kenya, right?
I have.
With the Gen Z, does it kind of reflect to the energy that you all had at that time? Can you look at that and see that you know, that kind of that energy, that drive to make a change, to do something different, where you just take it, I've taken enough and I'm not going to take anymore?
I think that attitude was running around the world at that time. I think it was. I think that revolution was in the air. You can call it revolution, you can call it major change, you can call it whatever you want, but make things more equitable, more fair. It was in the air there, and people were ready to fight. Young people then, and it transcended oftentimes race. It transcended at times class. And so, yes, it was. It was in that. This is nothing new. The thing in Kenya is I salute them, and I salute them, and I said, right on, go ahead and struggle for what's right. But that's nothing new. That was very much the thinking back in the day. It really was, sister. I can't emphasize that enough. That was the thinking of the day.
But you know one thing about it? I like what these young people said. They're transcending race and they're transcending religion, because both of them have not race, but here tribalism.
Yes.
And transcending, and we had some of the same kind of problem. We didn't have different tribes, but we had different fashions of people in the United States that were black people that were not responsive to the idealism.
You are preaching there, so that's true.
So this is a big holdup. We can make changes, and all of us know that we need to make changes, but we can make changes, but we have to stop being so divided by stuff, you know, by color, or how much, what your profession is, or because we're all in the same pot, or what side of town, or whether you come from Alabama, Mississippi, or New York, or wherever. But there were a whole lot of things, or whether you were in the church or out of the church. Some people say that's, you know, we had divisions because of church. Remember, we had divisions because you were Baptist and you were this and you were that. You know, we had a lot of divisions about that.
Well, you and I talked about when we first started talking about how our aspirations were so askew.
Yes.
Back in, well, even today, for a lot of us, is that we allowed our lives to be determined by metal, glass, cloth, stones, stuff.
Yeah, stuff.
That's all it was, stuff. I heard the other day, I won't say who it was, I heard a very famous basketball player talking about, he said, one time he said, I was in the Mercedes shop, and another famous celebrity came in and brought, talking black people, bought 3 Mercedes. Said, I wasn't going to let him outdo me. I couldn't buy 3, but I bought 2. And I thought to myself, good God Almighty, what could I do? What could we do with those amounts of funds?
And not only those amounts of funds, we keep making the very people that's oppressing richer and richer and richer and richer.
And that's why I say I most certainly don't think reparations should be a pass out. Because it goes straight to the Mercedes and to
it would go straight to them because
so we got to put that money into something that's going to benefit us.
And you know, and instead of the very people that are suppressing us are the people that are actually owning the Mercedes
Yes,
companies, and they have the
precisely.
power because they have the money power and the prestige. Because just like in the United States right now, the money is going to put the president in. It's not necessarily the votes, but
Yes, it
who
is.
got the most money. And
Yes, it
it's
is.
happening over here. It happens over here, and our Congress and their Parliament is not too much difference.
Yes,
We vote according to who got us in office.
yes,
You know, who
yes,
paid the most money for
yes.
our. So these young people, I want to try to encourage them to keep your eye on what they're supposed to keep your eye on. And I think if the Black Panthers would have kept their eye on
Hmm.
what their purpose was, and just what their purpose was. But at that time, you got young men and young women at their impressive time,
Mm.
and they are conscious, and their hearts are turning the right way. But also, we have a problem with ego,
Hmm.
ego, ego and pride.
Mm.
I would say. Ego and pride. I am this and I am that, but that breaks you down because you lose all the pride and you lose the ego when things get to where you have to put things in perspective.
Mm.
You have to put things in perspective. Now, to me, the Black Panthers, what they did, I mean, that's a powerhouse.
Mm.
That is, do you know what kind of powerhouse you all had?
I do know. I
Oh
do
my
know.
God.
But I tell you, it was not designed for us to last forever.
No.
The Black Panther Party had its significance, and what the Black Panther Party's greatest effort should have been is to be an inspiration for continuing. And I think this is true to a certain extent. I think the Black Panther Party laid a foundation that continues to impress
Today it
and
does.
inspire other people.
Yes.
Did we fail in our ultimate objectives? Yes, to bring about the massive change we wanted. We didn't succeed in that. But did we succeed in influencing every
You did.
people that we did?
You did.
People who
No,
don't
you
know
can't. No one can
yeah,
take that away
no,
from
they
you.
can't. They can't take it. And they tried to, but they can't.
They can't take it away from you.
They tried to rewrite it and minimize it. They tried to rewrite Malcolm X and make him something that he wasn't.
Yeah.
And didn't they put his face on some money or something? Didn't they do that?
Yeah, not Malcolm X, not yet. They haven't got that.
They haven't got that.
They haven't got that. But I'm gonna tell you one thing: Malcolm X, we didn't even like him until he died.
Yes.
Same way I tell people, I said the ones that actually killed, we didn't pull the bullet.
Yeah.
But when Martin Luther King started doing something besides marching, we started talking about he ought not to be in Vietnam. And he ought not to do this.
Please listen to me. I was there.
Yeah.
I can remember when Martin Luther King, everybody deifies Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Everybody and their mama says, when I was marching with Martin Luther King, I said, well, damn, he must have had millions of people marching with him. I can remember when they vilified him in the press.
Oh,
Blacks as well.
Blacks.
They
That's
said
what I'm
he's a
talking about.
troublemaker, and we don't want him in that because he's a troublemaker and this and that. And when he started talking about something other than civil rights, that went through the roof. You shouldn't be talking about that. You shouldn't be, right is right. If you're going to be for right all the way. That's my thinking. My job in life as an individual is this. I want to find something, and I have found it, that I enjoy doing, and doing it passionately to bring myself joy and not hurt anybody in the process.
Yes.
And if I can help somebody at the same time, that's icing on the cake. So that's what I believe, and that's what I want. That's it.
And you have help. Now, what would you say about your having to be exiled for 50? Well, if you had to rewrite this thing, would you not have pursued the avenue you pursued? Would you have not joined the Black?
I am so grateful that you make me almost want to cry. I am so grateful that my life turned out the way that it did. I am not a religious person, but I give thanks to whatever there may be. I give thanks that my life took the turn that it did. I'm so grateful that these people lied and connived on me and tried to do everything they could to put me in prison because it brought me to the point where I'm at today. My life has meaning. My life has significance. And I don't think you can ask for a great deal more than that. My life has meaning and significance.
And you brought a lot of things over here. I mean, you all have helped to educate and train people. You work with people. You've got to be you're in their customs and traditions. You speak their language.
If there is any plan of the universe, the plan must have been for me to be where I am now. You know, I was talking to somebody recently, Sister Janetta. You know, I've never really been hurt. I've been shot, not bad, didn't hurt me, you know, didn't cause any lasting damage, been shot twice. I've never been beat up a day in my life. I mean, I've been hit in the jaw or something like that, but beat up or anything. And I've often wondered, I said, wait a minute. As much hell as I've raised and as much harm as I have caused, and I have, if you want to be truthful.
Be truthful.
Truth, I have caused a lot of harm. I said, why have I never been? And so you start to wonder, is there a reason, some kind of plan that's not easy to understand behind this whole thing? I don't know. If it is, I don't understand it, but I'm grateful.
So, you know, the thing about it is that these young people going, now we do need unity. We do, as a Black people, need to change things. We still need to change them. But we need to first we need to change us. Like you said, we need to change.
Yes, we
do.
do.
Us. And we have to remember that just because their faces are Black, that don't mean they're your friend.
Oh, my sister. Have I learned that lesson? I've learned it well. And that's one of the reasons, if you could say, if you want to make an analogy of the Black Panther Party and say the runner stumbled.
Yes.
The Black Panther Party stumbled when it couldn't help it. I don't guess it could help it when it allowed itself to be infiltrated with so many Black faces.
Yes.
That were not on the same page.
Oh, no.
That, quite frankly, were on the other page.
Yes.
That was true.
Yeah, we got some Black people don't feel like we're not worthy.
No, they don't.
You know?
I was looking at a thing of Malcolm X speaking. He said, who taught you to hate yourself?
Yeah.
Who taught you to hate yourself? That self-hatred is so rampant in so many communities. In the States, not all, and I'm not making any blanket, but there are so many people that really hate themselves.
Yeah.
You know? And that has to be a terrible thing.
Oh, yeah. We got to let them know, like we talked about, we got to let them know the truth.
Let them know the truth.
Got
and
to
the
let
truth
them know.
Will set you free.
Yeah, you should let these children know the truth and to stand behind them and to encourage them. You can't get out. Brother people, you can't be a Black Panther now.
Yeah.
You can't get up and do what you did then.
I cannot do it.
But you sure can encourage them.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. So we're going to wind it up.
And you know, here's the thing, sister. People have a misconception about revolution and revolutionary effort. Revolution comes in many, many, many forms.
I hear you.
It's not all about the gun and the bullet. No, it's not about that.
It's beautiful. You know, we there's no way in the world we could wrap your life up in a little bundle. Just to kind of put a little bundle of packaging, put a bow on it and send it someplace. Because your experiences that you've had and you're with the people that you've had, we didn't even go over about the creation of the UACC here.
Yeah.
And how it was developed and the ideals behind it.
Yeah.
And the things that have happened. We're going to wrap it up. Got to see the beautiful children.
Maybe we'll have another
Maybe we'll do it another time.
Let's do so.
Well, we'll be out here for your birthday.
Oh, very good.
You can. Are you going to dance a jig or something?
Oh, I'm ready for it, boy. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Put my dancing shoes on. You better watch it, Because I'll grab your hand and tell you, and say, we're going to get out there
Okay.
and cut a rug.
Okay, well, that'll be all right with me. I can't cut
That's
it.
the biggest license the
I
devil ever taught.
So we're wrapping up with Brother Pete today. But I'm telling you, it's been such a joy to talk to him and to bring him to you, because that's one of the things, Brother Pete, we always say that we should have talked to them before they like, oh, we didn't learn.
Yeah.
We could have learned more. But there's so much more. You got to know, you say, Bobby Seals and Eldridge Cleaver.
Yes.
And the things about, because you told me something about Eldridge Cleaver today that I didn't know anything about.
Yeah, well, it's the truth.
Yeah, and Eldridge Cleaver.
I can show you. And when you come out next time, I can give you something to listen to that will clarify that point for you.
Okay, that'll be great.
Yeah.
We're going, he said another time. That'll be great. That'll be great. Well, we're going to sign off now. Hey, BlackSeerRadio.com on Saturdays at 8, and you look at the schedule so you can find out what time it comes in your area. But this is Janetta and Brother Pete signing off from what part of, it's not Arusha. What do you call this area?
Embasani Village. Embasani.
Embasani Village.
Yes.
Okay, from Embasani Village in Tanzania. And we're here at the headquarters of the UAACC. And hey, when you come to Tanzania, you just have to come. You'll enjoy it. You really will enjoy it. And look for Sister Charlotte, because Charlotte O'Neal, she's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and all those, I think Facebook. And she has a lot of things she's doing still yet in the States. She's been busy touring, singing, and speaking. And so you should just look up Sister Charlotte so you can see what she's doing, because it's important to your life and to mine. The youthful people need to listen to this. So you share it. You make sure you share this video with all the children in the family, with your sisters and brothers, your neighbors, and everybody, because I'm sure there's going to be a little tidbit in here that you would appreciate, and it will help you for your growth. All right. Bye-bye, Brother Pete.
Hey, Asante San.
Hey. Hey, this is Janetta, and you're watching Africa Speak